So let's start BlueJ and open up the example called figures. And once you've opened it, you should see a diagram. And in this diagram, every one of the coloured rectangles represents a class in our project. So in this project, we have classes named circle, square, triangle, person, and canvas. To create an object, right-click on the circle class and choose New Circle from the pop-up menu. The system then asks you to specify a name for the instance, but you can click OK for this because the default name supplied should be good enough for now. And then once you've done that, you'll see a red rectangle towards the bottom of the screen, labelled Circle 1. And pay attention to the naming convention here, because it's important to note that we start the names of classes with capital letters, such as circle, which you'll see is written with a capital C, and we start the names of objects with lowercase letters, such as circle 1. And this naming convention makes it really easy for programmers to tell the difference between a class and an object. So congratulations, you've just created your first object. Circle with a capital C, the rectangular icon represents the class circle, and circle 1 with a lowercase c is an object created from that class. And you'll see that this object exists in the area at the bottom of the screen, which is called the object bench. And when you create another object, you'll see it also appear in this object bench. So then for a quick exercise, let's see if you can create another object of the class circle. And then when you've done that, create an object of the square. And then once you've created those objects, if you wanted to call some of the methods of these objects, you can right-click, let's say on one of the circle objects, but make sure it's the object and not the class. And then when you right-click, you'll be able to see a pop-up menu which lists several operations. For example, choose Make Visible from the menu. And this will allow you to draw a representation of this circle in a separate window. If you were to right-click again, you'd also see several other operations in the circle's menu. Try invoking the Move Right operation, and then move down a few times to move the circle closer to the bottom of the screen. You may also like to try the Make Invisible and Make Visible to hide and show the circle too. The point being that the entries in the circle's menu represent operations that you can use to manipulate the circle. These are called methods in Java. We can communicate with objects by invoking methods on them. Objects usually do something if we invoke a method. And these terms, calling and invoking, are going to be terms that we're going to be using again and again throughout this module. It's how we refer to calling or invoking methods, such as invoking the method moveRight of the object circle 1. Now, if we were to invoke the moveHorizontal method, you'll see a dialog box appear that prompts you for some input. If you were to type in 50 and then press OK, you would then see the circle move 50 pixels to the right. So the moveHorizontal method is written in such a way that it requires some more information to execute it. In this case, the information required is the distance, how far the circle should be moved. Thus, the moveHorizontal method is more flexible than the moveRight and moveLeft methods. The latter always move the circle in a fixed distance, whereas the moveHorizontal method lets you specify how far you want to move the circle. And these additional values that some methods require are called parameters. A method will indicate what kinds of parameters it requires. For example, when calling the moveHorizontal method, the dialog box displays the line near the top. First, we see the return type void, followed by the method name, move horizontal, and then the parameter, which is in other words a variable. This is called the header of the method. The header provides some information about the method in question. The part enclosed by parentheses, int distance, is the information about the required parameter. For each parameter, it defines a type and a name. The header above states that the method requires one parameter of type int named distance. The name gives a hint about the meaning of the data expected. And together, the name of a method and the parameter types in its header are called the method's signature. So for an exercise then, try invoking the move vertical method, as well as the slow move vertical method and the change size method before we move on. Why not find out how you can use the move horizontal method to move the circle 70 pixels to the left? And then once you've done that, we'll have a look at the next section, which is data types. So a data type specifies what kind of data can be passed to a parameter. The type int signifies whole numbers, which are also known as integer numbers, hence the abbreviation to int. In the example we previously mentioned, the signature of the move horizontal method states that before the method can execute, we need to supply a whole number specifying the distance to move. And the data entry field, shown here, then lets us enter that number. So in the example so far, the only data type that we have seen has been int. The parameters of the move methods and the change size methods are all of that type. Closer inspection of the object's pop-up menu shows that the method entries in the menu include the parameter types. If a method has no parameter, the method name is followed by an empty set of parentheses. However, if it does have a parameter, the type and name of that parameter are displayed. In the list of the methods for the circle, you will see one method with a different parameter type. The change color method has the parameter of type string. The string type indicates that a section of the text, for example, a word or a sentence, is expected. Strings are always enclosed within double quotes, or otherwise known as speech marks. For example, to enter the word red as a string, we would have to type red within speech marks, or double quotes. So give this a try then, and try invoking the change color method on one of your circle objects and enter the string red. And if this is done correctly, it should change the color of the circle. And then once you've done that, try out some other colors too. But beware that a common error for beginners is to forget the speech marks or the double quotes when typing in a data value of type string. If you were to type the color green without the speech marks, you'll get an error message saying something like error cannot find symbol -variable green. So if you do get this message, make sure that you enclose your color within speech marks next time you try. The method call dialog also includes a section of text called a comment above the method header. Comments are included to provide information to the reader, or in other words, the programmer who is reading the code. And we're going to come back to looking at comments in the next chapter, chapter 2. But for now, just know that the comment of the change color method describes what color names that the system knows about. Java also supports other data types, including decimal numbers and characters. But we're not going to cover them all right this moment. Instead, we'll introduce them as they come up in other examples.